Well, Snapchat, of course, we know now has filed for its IPO. They did file before the elections are. You guys are investors in Dropbox, which we've reported is considering going public in the near future. Any change of plans?
None that I can state for Dropbox specifically.
And what do you think about, I mean, would you advise a company to stay the course at this point, or to wait and see, wait it out a little longer?
Yeah, there's a number of companies that were waiting to see how the election would play out, knowing there would likely be uncertainty in the market around a change in an administration. And that was when when we largely expected Hillary to win. So there is that backlog. Many of my banker friends are very active with companies that need to get out. The thing that's interesting to me about the Snapchat IPO is actually we've had a number of companies that here in Silicon Valley we call the decacorns, the Airbnbs, the Ubers, the very big companies. Those hot companies haven't felt pressure because there's been a ton of private investor interest, and they've stayed private. Palantir, some of these other companies. And so a lot of the companies that have gone out have been the ones that have almost needed to go out. Right, Pure Storage and some others. I think for me, what's interesting about Snapchat is they're actually one of the few companies that, in the spirit of transparency and the spirit of a number of things, I think are going public, and I think hopefully will sort of break the dam for a number of other companies to come out.
What about some of those decacorns, Alex, that Sarah mentions? Obviously, Uber, Airbnb. Snapchat has now at least beaten these guys to filing. How do you think a Trump presidency and this uncertainty, at least right now, will impact some of these companies that have, certainly been planning to go public at least sometime in the next couple of years?
So it seems like the wheels are in motion for Snap. They are, as our sources have told us, looking to raise as much as $4 billion in the first quarter of 2017. For the bigger companies, you look at Uber, you look at Airbnb, both of those have regulatory roadblocks they need to work through. As we talked about in the past, before Uber sold its China business to Didi, they needed to kind of resolve that issue. So there are still kind of big issues around some of the big companies that they need to work through. It seems like if they want to go and get out and go public, they will be able to. And Emily, I'll point to the interview that Lonsdale, co-founder of Palantir, had with Bloomberg Television. He is an early investor, and he even admitted that his ideas of when to go public might be different than others around that company. So a lot of factors will play into this. I haven't heard that Trump is one of them. For the smaller companies, though, the domestic-based companies, which is a majority of tech IPOs in a given year, the one policy Trump has been really clear on the fact that he wants to get done is bringing that tax rate down from 35% for corporate entities in the U.S. to 15%. And when it comes to future earnings, that is actually would be a good thing for these companies that are mostly based in the U.S., don't have any interesting overseas tax arrangements, and are paying that 35%. So, the smaller companies, some of the policies that we know of could actually be a positive. For the bigger companies, it definitely seems like it's going to be about, are they ready? Do they think they can get out at a decent valuation? And are the markets open?